Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mormon Atheist. Today's date is March 15th, 2026, and we are going over Solomon Southwick's book, A Solemn Warning Against Freemasonry. A Solemn Warning Against Freemasonry addressed to the young men of the United States. We ended our last episode on page 43. And so we are going to pick up on this episode on page 42 of his book. And just to recap a little bit from last episode that I really did not get into a lot of was the theocracy part of an imperium in imperio. So on the last episode, this is going to be episode 6. So on episode 5, go back and listen to the an imperium imperio. That is the theocracy of the institution within an institution. Okay, so that's the government entity part of it, right? The institution, a religious institution within the government. So it's a governmental religious institution. Okay, and that is the Church of Masonry, a religious institution of Masonry. Okay, and that's what we are talking about in this series and on this channel, how the Mormon Church is now that institution. Okay, and the Mormon Church was the original institution, and in 1830 they branched off, became the Church of Christ, Mormon Church, and Freemasonry, and then they evolve over time into what they are now, right? But in the very beginnings, through these books, through this literature, the anti-Masonic literature, we're learning that it's all made up, it's all created, it's all purposely, intentionally made up. And the backstories and all of this stuff are all made up. So there is no what's happening on Oak Island and all that stuff. It's all made up. It's all bullshit. The Da Vinci Code, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's been known to be bullshit anyway. So, but it's stuff like that is my point. Okay. So we're on Solomon Southwick's book. So let's continue on page 42. It says, let's see, let's go to the last sentence on page 41, the last paragraph, right? So vain and ridiculous is the attempt to live in society without acknowledging the obligation which it lays under us, and to effect an entire independence that the civil state which protects us in all our rights, and given, page 42, this is where we left off, given us every other liberty, that only accept the despising, only accepted of despising the laws of the community. Okay, so all right, let's keep going. Thus we see, my young countrymen, that the tiara was defeated, right? That's the crown, the tiara. You got to remember, this is 1827 when this book came out. And so they're using 1827 slang, okay? 1827 lingo, all right? So the tiara is the crown, okay? Thus we see, my young countrymen, that the tiara was defeated in its attempts to keep up law, in opposition to the municipal law of the land, right? So now he's talking about the US versus England, right? By our British ancestors, there you go, and let us, their posterity, take care that the Masonic law shall not triumph over our municipal law. Okay, this is a warning. He's warning us against Freemasonry. And look at what it's happening today. Look what's happening now. We lost the Anti-Masonic Movement, apostate congregation. So like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's keep going. By which I mean here, the whole system of constitutional liberty, which was purchased for us by the blood of our fathers, right? That's the Revolutionary War. And this brings me back once more to the Masonic oaths. These oaths, which bind those who take them to keep the secret of Masonry, like I said before, anytime you hear the word Masonry, put in Mormonism, okay? Right or wrong, are not only unlawful and therefore void ab initio from the beginning as the law has it, but I go further. And by fair construction, believe then to be not merely mala prohibita, acts of which human policy or expediency only demands the prohibition. Okay? But mala in se acts wicked in themselves. And before the existence of social compacts, being determined so by the laws of God, for if it be a thing wicked in itself to murder a fellow creature, then it must be so to administer or take an oath. Rather it be extrajudicial and unlawful or not, with the penalty of death annexed to the breach of it. See, he's hardcore. Solomon Southwick is all about the countrymen and how these organizations are overtaking our government. In 1827, in the 1800s, honestly, they're all talking about, you know, the late 1700s, 1790s, 1780s. This is what they're talking about. They're warning us against these radical institutions that are trying to overthrow the government, these secret societies. And they're talking about a specific secret society. It's not just a bunch of them. It's a specific one. The religious institution called Freemasonry. That's what the issue is here. And on the part of those who take and break it, to submit quietly to be murdered. No duly constituted civil power can have the right to administer such an oath. Right? So the Masonic oath is, if you spill the beans, you're dead. It's automatic death. That's what he's talking about, the death penalty. Penalty of death. Okay? And no duly constituted civil power can have the right to administer such an oath, much less any private secret associations. Okay, that's directly out of Washington's farewell address. He has it italicized. It is destructive to all the elements of social existence, insulting the moral sense of mankind, and to the purity, benevolence, and mercy of him who created us. Page 43. Away then, forever, with this horrible notion, this moral and political, if not religious, heresy, that a Freemason or any other man has the right to set at defiance the laws of God. Thou shalt not commit murder, by contracting away his life, and thus voluntarily consigning his soul to eternal perdition, and fighting from him and filling from him, as far as his own acts goes, the all-gracious atonement of the Redeemer. You understand me? Think Mormonism. Okay, the all-gracious atonement of the Redeemer! Exclamation point. But enough for the present of the unlawful, barbarous, and blasphemous oaths which grace the code of the most ancient, of the most, and it's in quotations, the most ancient and honorable fraternity, it's in quotations, he's being sarcastic, of which heaven or earth can boast. If we believe the vainglorious and foolhardy assertions of its inflated holiday trumpeters, I have thus shown sufficient. Okay, now here we're going to get into a hard warning. Okay, let me take a drink real fast. We're going to get into a very hard warning right here. And this is very important right now. So, okay, so here we go. Page 43, I have thus shown sufficient, I presume, to satisfy you, at the least all of you who possess virtue and good sense, that you cannot enter into the Masonic Association without incurring the risk of life. If conscience should afterwards prompt you to perform your duty fearlessly as men and citizens without violating the self-respect, which is one of the brightest gems in the human character, pay attention, congregation, so long as it does not degenerate into vanity or false pride, without incurring the risk of losing the respect and esteem of society by a course of dissipation. There's a siren going by. Give me 1 second. You can hear that. That's loud. Okay. By the course of dissipation, without betraying the rights and liberties of your country. What is your allegiance to, Mormons? First and foremost, it's to the church. Masons, what's yours? First and foremost, it's to the lodge. By contracting obligations which destroy your fealty to her civil and political laws. Hang on, there's another fire. Now it's a fire truck. That shit gets loud. We're inside and it's that loud. That's crazy, right? All right. And finally, that you cannot hold fellowship with Freemasonry unless the Bible be a forgery and Christianity a fable. What is Mormonism? The Bible is incomplete and Christianity is false. Christianity is false. So all you Christians out there that are seeing this LDS Christian push, right? Make no mistake about it. A Mormon's allegiance is to the church, the Mormon church, the prophet. Okay? The prophet comes first. So this is not an attempt for Mormons to become more Christian-like. There's a ruse here. There's a twist. This is very much an attempt at Christians becoming Mormons. Okay? This whole LDS push for LDS Christian stuff, this is very much a push for Christians to become LDS. LDS have no intentions on becoming Christian, none whatsoever. As far as the Christian faith is concerned, forget it. That's what a Mormon is. Christianity is false. The Bible's false. It's not complete. That's why there's another testament of Jesus Christ, the Book of Mormon. That is the entire point of the Book of Mormon. Another testament of Jesus Christ. The Bible is incomplete. Christianity is false. Number one, first and foremost, is the work. In the Bible, Jesus did the work. He died for our sins. The work is done. The work is complete. In Mormonism, you have to continue the work. That is Mormonism. And then we can get into the, Mormon Jesus, the story of Hillel, angel lore, all that kind of stuff, right? If you're truly curious, you can look up the story of Hillel, right? I'm going to go off script here for a minute. This is literally something I don't think I've ever talked about on any of my channels, or I only have this channel. So on any of my episodes, I've never talked about this at all. So the story of Hillel goes like this, right? It's Jewish angel lore, okay? So in Jewish angel lore, there are three Satans, or three adversaries, let's say. Lucifer is in the Old Testament, Satan is in the New Testament, and then there's this character named Hillel that has no home, right? He's not in any book. So lo and behold, the Mormons take the story of Hillel, and that story of Hillel is the Mormon Jesus. It's in the book of Abraham. Okay, that is the Mormon Jesus, the story of Hillel in Jewish angel lore. It's all over YouTube. You can look it up. Jewish angel lore, the story of Hillel. And I believe I have posted it in my community chats over the years, like over the last 2 years. I think so you might have to go all the way down to the bottom or something, but there's not that many posts, so you'll find it fairly quickly. It's the story of Hillel. And Hillel is the Mormon Jesus, okay? The story of Hillel is the Mormon Jesus story. It's in the book of Abraham. It's literally legit the exact same story. Like word for word, the exact same story, the story of Hillel. All right, let's keep going with this. Okay, here we go. And Christianity, a fable, without violating your duty to your divine creator and redeemer. For all those sacrifices which you must make, if you join the order in earnest, think the craftsman, and zealously adhere to it, what adequate return can Freemasonry make to you? Exclamation point. I swear, not any, not the shadow of a return. She can afford you no rational entertainment in her dark retreats, no new principles of science, no food for your mind or the soul. In her ridiculous mysteries, science of her own, she has none. All her lights are borrowed. What she pretends to hide from the world in her dark conclaves is not worth lifting the veil, right? Masonic talk, to come at, especially when she calls on you to loosen your purse strings and squander your money. Mormonism, for every peep you take at her rush light under a bushel. That's italicized and in quotation marks. You take her rush light under a bushel, exclamation point. What her tempters Her orators, from those who are the most exalted in talent, um, dawn to the wildest fanatical or the meanest hireling scribbler, who thus wielded his pen in justification of her murderous career. Do you understand me? They're creating this. Okay. That's what he's talking about. They're creating this. And he's talking about it in a female tense. Like I hope you're picking up on that, right? What these, I say, have avowed as her principles are no more her property than they are yours or mine. She stole them from the Masonic code. Oh, the Mosaic code. She stole them from the Mosaic code. The pages of the patriarchs and the prophets, from the Persians, sun worshippers. Okay, pay attention. This is important. She stole them from the Mosaic code and the pages of the patriarchs and the prophets, from the Persian sun worshippers. Okay, what in Mormonism, what are they called? They're called the pretend Muhammads, right? In the early literature, in the anti-Mormon literature, they're referred to as the pretend Muhammads. Okay, from the heathen to the pagan philosophy and the Christian revelation, exclamation mark. That right there is that's where you get Masonry from, right there. That's it. He just told you. Drop the mic. Case is over. Okay. Remember, in modern day times, nobody knows where the origins of Freemasonry come from. Okay. We're in 1827, Solomon Southwick is telling you this is the Anti-Masonic Movement. Okay. He is the curator. He is the keynote speaker at the Anti-Masonic Convention. Okay. Our last series we did on William Morgan's book, Illustrations of Masonry, we went over all this stuff and we talked about all this and we went over. And remember, I told you, Solomon Southwick comes out swinging. He does not hold back. Okay. When is the, yeah. So there's a lot at stake here. And please understand, we lost the movement. The movement failed. So here we are today in the midst of these Epstein files. And we're hearing about all of the Masonic structure in them and all of the magic that's in them. And, make no mistake about it, it's Solomonic magic. Because remember, William Morgan directly tells you the craft in Freemasonry is the Magi, the magicians. Okay, you have the entered apprentice, then you have the craftsmen, then you have the master masons. The entered apprentices are the missionaries. The craftsmen are the magicians, and the master masons are the go-to between the Royal Arch Mason and everybody else. So the master mason, think of him as like the bishop, right? So let's keep going. And how she has acted up to them, let her midnight revels and debaucheries and the graves of her murdered victims answer, exclamation point. We can follow her example if base enough to claim what is not our own and steal and borrow from the same sources without confessing the crime or acknowledging the obligation. So far indeed from being her own, right? So it's not original. She has not even the second-hand merit of preserving them in their original purity and sublimity, right? It's not fucking original. Okay, it's a totally made up thing. Not only Mormonism, but Freemasonry. Okay, you have to understand, we are talking about Freemasonry. Okay, but in 1827, Freemasonry was a religious institution. Okay, the key to all this is the Mormon ear, the LDS ear. I was born and raised into Mormonism, so I'm very well aware of all these early Mormon stories, right? So when I hear these early Mormon stories, and then I think of this, or when I hear this stuff, and then I read what we call the anti-Mormon literature, right? And then I go back to this, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is the same thing. It's legit the same exact thing. So when Mormonism and Freemasonry started, okay, it was one thing. Okay, it was one thing. It was called a religious institution of Freemasonry. And these guys refer to it as the Church of Masonry. So it's a legit religious thing, okay? Joseph Smith did not create anything. What happened was in 1830, they split. Freemasonry becomes legit Freemasonry like we know it is today, and Mormonism becomes Mormonism like we know it is today. And that's where the history begins between the two. But when they first started, they were one. They were very much one entity. 1830, they split. Let's keep going. We can follow her example. Okay, I read that. Well, all right. They have fared in her hands as the brightest gem of Golconda, Golconda. The brightest gem of Golconda would fare in the soiled hand, the dusky grasp of a son of Vulcan, Vulcan. In an 1827 book, we have Vulcans. The universal and sublime principles of charity and benevolence, which Plato, okay, so understand, these are not stupid people. The common milieu, or the common thought is, these people are just backwoods, podunk, shit kicking, just low life losers. But we've already heard about Cicero. We've heard about all these writers, ancient Greek writers, Latin writers, and now we're talking about Plato. So you can't tell me that these people did not know the Greek, okay? Because what is happening in this time frame? The Rosetta Stone is discovered. There's things happening outside of Mormonism that we as Mormons never look at. We never even consider it. We never even contemplate it. We don't even think about it because it's considered anti-Mormon. It doesn't go with the narrative that the church says. Because if the church does not say it, or somebody prominent in the church or some meatball fucking faithful member writes a book about it and it gets published at Deseret Books, Mormons flat out will not believe it. So you have to understand there's a lot of things going on, and you can pick any book, it doesn't matter. Pick it up and read it. That was published in the early 1800s. There's tons of poetry. There's all sorts of sermons. There is a lot of literature that's written in the 1800s. And so it's really fascinating to read this stuff and to get a feel of what's really going on in 1800, that we as Mormons, when we approach this subject, we think of pioneers and just dumb idiots, right? That's what we think of as dumb idiots. The West is a bunch of stupid idiots and Indians. Engines. They're all a bunch of fucking engines. Engines and shit kickers, right? Well, that's not true. These people are very, very smart. They're well read. They're reading new. I mean, if these people, okay, think about this, apostate congregation. The printing press is invented, okay? The printing press, think of this. Everybody's writing stuff down. Everybody, in order to get a book, you have to pay somebody to recopy it, okay? The printing press is invented, and it spreads like wildfire. It literally just spreads. Think of the internet, right? This is the first social media, is the printing press. Well, the written word is. The spoken word actually is. Then the written word, then the printing press. Well, then you could go into like cliff drawings and shit. Anyways, that's not my point. Anyways, it spreads like wildfire, but nobody knows how to read. Why would it spread like that if nobody knows how to read? You understand me? Okay, so let's keep going. The universal and sublime, we're on page 45 now. The universal and sublime principles of charity and benevolence, which Plato, as well as Paul, okay, who's Paul? Paul in the Bible, enforced at Athens. Okay, so they, these people aren't dumb, congregation. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video. Remember, this channel will never be monetized, so the only way you can help this channel and support this channel is to subscribe, comment, like, share. Like the comments, hit the bell because I come on at total random times. So hit the bell, and that way you know when I come on. Lately I've been doing, well, today's Sunday, so I'll probably do another video right after this one. So anyways, let's keep going. She limits and contracts to those only who have been taught in her scientific retreats and grand operation of drawing the right hand across the tip of the chin, remember? And then giving the pass grip at the doors of her temples of darkness and delusion. The temple of darkness and delusion, the Mormon temple. Okay, you have to understand, we are very much talking about the temples of Solomon. Okay, this is King Solomon in the Bible. Okay, so the New Solomon's temple is built in the New Jerusalem. What was America called before it was called America, congregation? It was called the New Jerusalem. It was literally called the New Jerusalem. So in Mormonism, there's a rush. There is also a New Jerusalem in Missouri. And there's a rush to build the Temple of Solomon in Missouri by the Mormons. This is the New Jerusalem. This is the Far West temple. I believe it's the Far West. It might be, yeah, I think it was the Far West one. It might be a different one, but anyways, my point is the Mormons built this temple, supposedly. Okay, I have been to the Far West Temple, and I don't believe there was ever any building there. I truly do not believe any building was ever at that location. So, all right, let's just keep going. I kind of went off on a tangent, and then I started going off on another tangent within the tangent, and I lost track of what I was thinking about. So let's just keep going. As her benevolence is stinted to her own house, her own household, and her charity begins at home, so is her chastity. So is her chastity of the same pure and immaculate description, hence her novitiates, noviciates, novitiates. I'm thinking that's a play on like novice and initiate or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, let's keep going. When they approach her nocturnal altars, are sworn not to violate the persons. Okay, pause. We are going to get into the what do you want to call it? We are going to get into the what would you call it? The don't covet your wife type of stuff, or don't covet your neighbor's wife kind of stuff right here. Okay, which in turn is no polygamy. Polygamy is directly forbidden in Freemasonry. Mormonism started out as Freemasonry. Freemasonry is Mormonism. Mormonism is Freemasonry. They're one entity. These are the rules of that entity. There's no Mormonism yet. We're in 1827, remember. So there is no Mormonism yet. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start over because this is important, okay? As her benevolence is stinted in her own household and her charity begins at home, so is her chastity of the same pure and immaculate description, hence her novicities. When they approach her nocturnal altars, are sworn not to violate the persons of the wives or daughters of the mystic brotherhood, knowing them to be the wives or daughters of the said brotherhood. That's explicit. That is explicit. The persons, okay? When they approach her nocturnal altars, are sworn not to violate the persons of the wives or daughters of the mystic brotherhood, in italics, knowing them to be the wives or daughters of the said brotherhood. You understand me? You do not have sex within the cult. It's explicitly forbidden. You take an oath at the altar, right? The nocturnal altars, but are left at full liberty to seduce and corrupt. What do they call Joseph Smith? They accuse him of whoredom. They accuse him of everything you can think of. They call him, right? But they never use the word polygamy. They never use multiple wives. Never. It's always celestial marriage or spiritual wifery. And it is always described in terms of baptism for the dead. They're being baptized. And this is the spiritual wifery. This is, and never once does the word polygamy ever get used until after Joseph Smith dies. That's fact. Without the shield of any Masonic tie for their protection, the wives and daughters of any or all beyond the pale of this brotherhood, these are her moral and intellectual beauties. Okay, that's the fraternity's moral and intellectual beauties. Her religion, her religion, her religion, her religion, it is needless to speak of, for she has none. She never had any. She can embrace with equal, adore the atheist, the deist, the disciple of the Arabian impostor. That's Islam, right? or the followers of Joanne Southcote. We all know that name, right? Joanne Southcote. You can look her up. I highly recommend you look her up. Joanne Southcote. Exclamation point. Lucifer himself would find admittance into her honors, her rights, and her mysteries. Okay? Can we not say Mormonism loud enough right now? Can we literally not say Mormonism loud enough right now? Okay? I mean, that's every fucking description that I talk about on this channel of Joseph Smith, every book that I've read that talks about Joseph Smith say the same thing right here. Her religion is needless to speak of, right? They're creating it, apostate congregation. Do you understand that? They are legitimately creating this. The disciples of the Arabian impostor. That's Islam. Fuck Islam. Fuck Christianity. Fuck Judaism. Fuck the Abrahamic religions. They all need to go. All of them. I do not like or dislike one of them any more or less than the other. They all need to go. Look at what they're doing to this fucking world, man. And these are the most peaceful religions. These are the most religious of peace. Yeah, fuck you. They need to go, okay? Lucifer himself would find admittance into her honors, her rights, her mysteries, if he not be indeed the father of them. What did I just tell you? The story of Hillel. Do you understand me? Jewish angel lore, the story of Hillel. If he had but scrip or silver in his purse to pay the fee of initiation, Lucifer himself would find admittance into her honors, her rights, and her mysteries. If he not be indeed the father of them, if he had but scrip or silver in his purse to pay the fees of initiation. See, they would even make Lucifer pay, the cheap fucking bastards. What are Mormons? Okay, they don't help anybody. You bet your ass the Mormons would make Lucifer fucking pay. Since then, in her speculative, right, there's that word again, speculative. We're tracking speculative and operative because operative Masons are Masons of old. They do not exist. William Morgan lays this whole thing out for you. Operative Freemasonry is the Masonry of old. It does not exist. Speculative Freemasonry, the free and accepted Masons, the speculative, free and accepted Masons, which is what we know them as today, okay? Speculative Masonry is the new Masonry, the Masonry of new. They are creating it. There is no such thing as Freemasonry. It does not exist. Obviously, today, yes, it very much does exist. That's not what I'm saying here, like it's a figment of our imagination. No, I'm saying it's the creation, the founding, the foundations of this, right? Okay. Okay, then in her speculative, moral, and intellectual science, she can afford you nothing worth spending your time and your money for. Surely you will not call upon her to teach you the operative or practical use of the square and the compass, the gauge and the bevel. For of these, again, she knows nothing more than their mere forms, right? They're creating it. They're making this stuff up, which she has learned from the hieroglyphics of her walls. Ah, shit, man. Or from seeing them in thousands of those honest, practical mechanics who know how to use them without any thanks to her teaching, right? They're making this up. Mormonism and Freemasonry are legitimately the exact same thing. In 1827, I would say 1829 prior, Freemasonry and Mormonism is legitimately the exact same thing. And were she to attempt their practical applications, she would cut the figure of the monkey, which in a barber shop had the temerity to attempt the handling of a razor secundum artem. Secundum artem is italicized. It's a Latin word, SECUNDEM exclamation point. There's a monkey story in Mormonism. I'll have to look into that. I don't remember what the monkey story is, but there's a monkey story in Mormonism. I know the story, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's a monkey story. She would cut the figure of a monkey, which in a barber shop had the temerity to attempt the handling of a razor secundum artem. Oh, I'm thinking that's maybe like cutting the artery, right? Artem. Now that I think about it, right? Secundum artem, cutting the artery. I don't know Latin. Maybe that's what it says. I don't know. If then, my young countrymen, for her speculative science in its purity, you must go to Moses and the prophets, to David and Solomon, to David and Solomon, to David and Solomon, to Plato and Socrates. Remember Plato's noble lie, right? And there's a whole, if you don't know the story of Socrates, I really recommend that you learn that story. Because if you read about Socrates in Herodotus, one could arguably say that the story of Socrates is almost the same story as Jesus, right? But they make Socrates eat hemlock. That's how Socrates dies, is he eats hemlock. All right, so anyways, to Plato and Socrates, to Jesus Christ and his apostles. Okay, so there you go. Once again, he's giving you these samples, right, of where their theology comes from, where the Masonic theology comes from, the Mormon theology comes from. This is Mormonism. Okay, this literally is Mormonism. As a Mormon, if you listen to this, I said the key is the Mormon ear. As a Mormon, if you listen to this, you know exactly, especially William Morgan's book, because all those ceremonies are in the temples. All of those ceremonies, the veil, everything, that whole thing is in the temples. So you cannot deny this. You cannot deny this. To any Mormon that is over the age of 40, I would even argue 45, maybe over the age of 45, you know the Masonic elements to Mormonism, because it wasn't until the 90s they started kind of the late 80s, early 90s, they started to distance themselves from Freemasonry and any thought about Freemasonry, right? But it has not worked. Okay, if then, okay, here we go. Back down here. So further, practical science of Masonry, of Mormonism, you must call, not at her door, but to that of some honest, industrious, and sensible bricklayer. So much a man you must go in preference to any of her teachers, many of whom in any sense are scarcely qualified, For hodmen, so a hodman, you look that up and see what a hodman is, right? Scarcely qualified. He's talking about bricklayers, so I'm thinking like a hod tender. If you know anything about like stucco or bricklaying, like a hod tender, right? See, they still call it in 1827. This stuff never changes, apostate congregation. History, there is nothing. We are no different today than these people are back then. The only thing that is different is words like hod tender. We don't use hod men anymore. We call them hod tenders. We don't call them, we don't use cobblestones for our roads anymore. We use pavement, but it's still a fucking road. It's still to travel on. It still makes life easier. It still does this. In 100 years from now, we're not going to use asphalt. We'll have some other crazy, weird bullshit concoction. I doubt very seriously in 1827, they were thinking about asphalt. Okay. So this stuff, the scalpel, they used to use obsidian. Obsidian is literally sharper than a scalpel. But nobody wants some doctor taking a rock and cutting them. It's the same thing. There's no difference. We are no different. We still wear clothes. They wore clothes, right? Being as stupid as mules and ignorant as Hottentots. I love this guy. I love the way this guy, Hottentots, Hottentots. Look that up. I profess no classical education or discipline. Cast off an orphan without parent to guide or friend or benefactor to aid me in commencing my career in life. My youth was devoted to manual labor, and my subsequent time has been full of business, cares, pleasures, and perplexities. But with all these disadvantages, okay, that was Southwick talking about himself. I profess no classical education or discipline. Cast off an orphan, right? He was an orphan without parents to guide or friend or benefactor to aid me in commencing my career in life, right? Yeah, understand. He is the first commencement speaker, or well, he's the only commencement speaker at the first Anti-Masonic convention. So he went from being an orphan to that. That's pretty fucking impressive, man. Thy youth was devoted by manual labor, and my subsequent time has been filled of business, cares, pleasures, and perplexities. But with all these disadvantages, I fear not to challenge the most learned champion of her cause to show a single feature in her system which is worth preserving. I will show that it does not belong to her, right? It's all borrowed. They're making it all up. It's all borrowed. They're taking, it's a hodgepodge. They're taking this and that and this, and they're creating one thing. And he's saying, hey, you tell me your theology and I'll tell you where you got that shit from. Right? Which is what the Mormon Atheist is doing right now to you. Do you understand me? Like and subscribe to the channel. I will show that it does not belong to her, that she is indebted for it to other sources than her own. Prolific invention or genids, or genius. Prolific invention or genius. Okay, do you understand? I will show that it does not belong to her. Okay. That she has indebted for it to other sources than her own. Prolific invention or genius. And finally, that she has not in any sense whatsoever the least pretensions to the gratitude of the mechanic, the respect of the philosopher, or the veneration of the saint. That's powerful. I mean, that is powerful right there, right? I mean, he's literally telling you this. In 1827, A Solemn Warning Against Freemasonry is the name of the book, addressed to the young men of the United States. We're on page 47, Apostate Congregation. I want you to understand, in 1827, we are just coming out of the Age of Enlightenment, right? We're coming out of the United States Constitution. So the sense of country pride, right? I'm not into the Indian talk, okay? The stolen land, that's a separate conversation. But as far as the country pride is concerned, for the United States of America, it was rampant through the colonies, right? And this institution was a direct threat to the institution of America. This is where the Emporium Emporio comes from and all that kind of stuff, right? The theocracy within a theocracy, an institution within an institution. Okay? It's illegal. The Mormon Church is completely fucking illegal. The state of Utah is completely illegal, constitutionally speaking. It's a theocracy, Emporium de Emporio, an institution within an institution. It's totally illegal. So ask yourself, how is it that this church has been able to survive all this time? I've wondered, this has been a personal question of mine since I'm 49 years old. Now it's answered. This is a government entity. This Mormonism is a legitimate government entity. Freemasonry is a legitimate government entity. These are government entities. Like it or not, I don't even care, because John Quincy Adams tells you there's a huge battle. The entire Revolutionary War is the Yorks and the Scots. This is Masonic, Apostate Congregation. This is Mormonism. These two fractions have split. Why is the Mormon Church, why is the Mormon leaders, that's all it says, is the Mormon leaders on the bloodline list in the Epstein files? Why? I don't care. There's no names. I don't give two Fs. It legitimately says the Mormon leaders, along with the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, these Illuminati names. Third name from it's either second or third from the bottom. It says the Mormon leaders. This is the Illuminati list, is what that list is. And the Mormon leaders are on that list, the bloodline list. It's legitimately the fucking bloodline list in the Epstein files. Google it, look it up for yourself. It's there. Megan Connor did a podcast on it, and she showed it on her thing, and she has it highlighted. It says the Mormon leaders. The fucking Mormon leaders on the bloodline list. Okay? All right, let's keep going, congregation. To test the truth of what I hear advance, I think I may safely trust to your own good sense. That's you. Okay? Remember, this is addressed to the young men of the United States. In 1827, he wrote this warning, me and you better stop this shit now, or you're not going to be able to. And look at where we are, congregation. So when I read these books, and when they say, I trust to your good sense, right? He's talking to me. He's talking to you. Okay? This is the ghost of Southwick. The ashes of Morgan will rise again, congregation. If you reflect for a moment that the tree is known by its fruit and will take the pains whenever you see one of her pageants or processions moving through the streets to discriminate between the men of talents and the intelligence who compose it. Hang on, we got another siren going by. These bastards are loud. All right, so let's go. I trust that you will choose to discriminate between the men of talents and intelligence and the intelligence who compose it. God, man, there must be something really going on. That's like the fourth one now it's gone by. So, and we're on the inside, so that's how loud that is. We're inside, and that's how loud that is. All right. Intelligent and ignorant. You will probably perceive that 5 out of 6 belong to the latter class, right? The ignorant. 5 out of 6 belong to the ignorant. And if you look again at those who, as grand masters, grand high priest, and grand kings, okay, so here's some new ones. Remember, William Morgan's book ends, it's not complete. It ends where he starts to talk about the grand priests, okay? We also have the grand kings that come after the grand priest, okay? So you have your master mason, your grand masters, okay? Then you have your grand high priest. This is stuff that's not even talked about today. So you have your grand high priest and then your grand king. Take the lead in this courtly pageantry, which she has introduced among us. It is equally probable that these grand pillars of a would-be nobility, the grand pillars, right? The Yakin and Boaz, the grand pillars of a would-be nobility, it's all made up, it's a would-be nobility, it's all bullshit, saving perhaps 2 or 3 cunning speculators, speculative masonry, speculators, are as stupid, illiterate, and ignorant as their blind followers. Mormons. For would any man of sense, I ask you, in a republican government, and especially a man friendly to such government, dress himself up and parade through the streets without a blush in the paraphernalia of an Eastern monarch? Exclamation point. But as these men with no pretensions of education, taste, or native genius, and who hardly know in the language of Shakespeare, a hawk from a handsaw. Oh man, he just cuts them, man. He just cuts them. They don't even know the difference between a hawk from a handsaw, you stupid bastards. And our special favorites of this modern whore of Babylon. Somebody that gets into Medea and stuff like that, the whore of Babylon, that just breaks my heart every time I hear a Christian refer to the whore of Babylon. It breaks my heart. Medea is the first Christ, apostate congregation. Euripides. Medea legitimately is the first Christ. She is the first baptizer. She's baptizing her arrows. She's Christing people. She has the Antichrist along with the Christ. Medea legitimately is the first Christ. Okay, so let's keep going. But as these men, okay, we already read that. In the language of Shakespeare, the whore of Babylon, on whose forehead is written mystery. And it's in bold letters, all caps, bold letters. Whose forehead is written mystery, are clothed in her scarlet robes, has risen to the highest degree in her mystic temples, and stand forth the avowed and admitted I can't read that. Dignitaries, admitted highest dignitaries. Okay, so the whore of Babylon is where, so let me break this down to you. Okay, in today's world, we're hearing all this stuff about Baal and all this kind of stuff, right? So all of these mystery cults, mystery religions, they all go back to Bacchus. Okay, the Bacchic rites, right? The Saturnians, the worship of Saturn. The black cube is a representation of Saturn. Okay, so all these things are Saturn, right? In Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity, all of this stuff is legit Bacchic, right? The national anthem, the American national anthem, if you look up, you go to Gnostic Informant's page, and Gnostic Informant does a whole thing on where the original national anthem is a Bacchic hymn. It's legitimately a Bacchic hymn, the original national anthem. So this is all Bacchic. And we get into the satyrs, and this is why it's all pedophiliism, right? And so we're going down this lineage, which comes into Jesus, the pedophile. Blessed are the eunuchs. In my mind, Jesus is a complete fucking pedophile. Blessed are the eunuchs, right? He had the best boys. He was a lestai, right? He was a lestes. He was trafficker, right? He would rob your children from you. He was a robber, a leste, right? And so you go on with this stuff, and it goes all the way down the line to Freemasonry. Legitimately goes all the way down the line to Freemasonry, which, remember, at its inception is Mormonism and Freemasonry. It's one entity. Do you remember? Okay. All right. What's our time, congregation? We got to let's finish out this page. We're almost done with this page, and then we'll finish this out. All right, bottom of page 47. It's written on her forehead, mystery. Are clothed in her scarlet robes. All right, we already read all that. Highest dignitaries who wear her official honors. Does it not follow that her science and her secrets must be very like indeed to a dog of small things? It's italicized. Be like a dog to a dog of small things, or a night of mist and darkness, which may be seen now and then a struggling and solitary ray of moonshine! Exclamation point. Okay, so they're all drunkards. They're all getting loaded. And that ends this episode. So we will begin on page 48. Give me an hour or two, and I'll come back. And today's Sunday. I ain't got shit to do. Today's March 15th. By the way, if I didn't say that at the beginning, 2026. Thank you, Apostate Congregation, for taking your time to watch this and learn about this. I really, truly hope that you take this ball and you run with it. Go do your own research. Go do, we are legitimately in a crossroads right now in life. Which way are we going to go? Are we going to go the way of the Epstein files, or are we going to go the way of Socrates? Personally, me, I would much rather every Renaissance all goes back to the Greek. Every time there's a Renaissance in human history, literally, it all goes back, it always goes back to the Greek. Because that's where you get your morals and all this shit. You know, it's just ideas, and it's just like, you know, you really innately should not do things, right? Because it makes you feel bad, or it makes you feel happy, or it, you know, these kinds of things, right? And this is an innate thing, right? There's no like God, there's no like controlling us. And that's what the Greek talks about. The Greek talks about all that. Like this stuff is like just in us, right? Nemesis, right? I 100% believe in nemesis. Nemesis. I believe in nemesis. Okay? That is an innate thing. Justice. That's nemesis is justice. Justice will always prevail. These are all women that created this stuff. They all are women. Fascinating. Medea, nemesis. All this stuff, the first Christ, it's beautiful. The Greek is beautiful. Go back to the Greek. Always go back to the Greek. We are in a new age of enlightenment right now. I truly believe that. We are at the very beginning phases of this new age, right? Because Lady Babylon is talking about the Greek and making all that very prevalent, and, you know, just breaking that all down the way that he does. Neil from Gnostic Informant, he has his place. Myth Vision has his place. You know, all of these people are bringing this, you know, mythology. Dr. Justin Sledge has his place with esoterica. All of this is relevant in today's world. Justin Sledge and Esoterica, I really recommend you guys going and watching that channel, because he breaks down the magic like nobody's business. That he is a legit PhD scholar. Mormons, I say this because Mormons will just absolutely reject anybody that is not a member or is not a, you know, like of prominence. So Justin Sledge is a legit PhD scholar in esoterics. That is important because he's in esoterics. His PhD is in esoterics. And he breaks that stuff down like you wouldn't believe. And he has a whole playlist on Solomonic magic, King Solomon, all this stuff. And his channel will 100% verify everything I'm saying. Absolutely. So go there, watch it, pay attention to it, take notes. I sometimes, you know, have to take notes because, as we see in this book alone, there's words that we've never heard of before, right? And so what do these words mean, especially in context? You know, because in the context of the word, because he's using these words as slang terms. Okay, these are slang terms. In 1827, he's using slang words. So you have to take that into consideration when you're reading these old books. Not only do they have their own language, just in general, they're in English, but it's a different form of English, right? Not only do it's like almost an entirely different language, but the slang is totally different. And it's incredible. I think this stuff is like poetic. The way these people write, if I was a writer and I was writing a book today, I would legit write it in this style. Like the way they talk and the way they edit, I think it's fascinating. It is a complete lost art. The literature of the 1800s the early 1800s is a total lost art, hands down. I love that stuff, man. All of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the genre. Give me the book. If it's got an 1819 date on it, an 1820 date, I want to read it because the language is beautiful in these books. The sermons, oh man, you read some of those sermons and they'll make the hair on your hand stand up. Just how poetic it is. You don't have to believe any of the shit they're saying. You just read it, right? It's information. Read it. It's information. What's it going to hurt you to read that stuff? It's information. You only don't know what you don't know. You understand? You only know what you don't know. Okay. So there you have it, Apostate Congregation. Like and subscribe to the channel. We will never be monetized. This channel will never be monetized. So please subscribe, like the videos, hit the bell. These are the most important things: hitting the bell, liking the video, subscribing, and then comment, like the comments, reply to somebody else's comment. It's nobody ever replies on these. And the ones that do reply are pretty fucking lame, to be honest with you, because they're, let me rephrase that. The apostates that comment are usually some kind of a question or a compliment or something along these lines. And generally speaking, those questions are usually stuff that I've never even thought about before. I've been like, wow, that's, some people will comment. Just yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Might have been yesterday. Anyways, last week sometime, somebody commented and was saying some stuff, and they were talking about Australia. And I was like, wow, I've never even thought of that, like Australia, what the fuck? And so I looked into it, and lo and behold, Alexander fucking Smith, one of his daughters is said to have moved to Australia and resides in Australia. And now there's a whole like Smith lineage in Australia to this day. I found that pretty fascinating because I've been a Mormon my whole fucking life, and I've legitimately never heard that story before, ever. I thought Alexander Smith died. I thought he was one of the unborn childs until I started doing all this research. And then I heard this and I was like, no fucking shit, man. So yeah, Mormons are everywhere. They're an infestation. They're a cancer on the fucking planet. And as this book and William Morgan's book, and later on we're going to get into David Bernard and then Quincy Adams and William Stone. William Stone writes in 1834. That's important because that's when Mormonism Unveiled comes out, is 1834. That's important. Okay. There's a direct correlation between those two books, William Stone, an anti-Mason, and Mormonism Unveiled, an supposedly anti-Mormon book. There is a legit direct correlation between those two books. Okay. All right. So, congregation, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Now I'm just rambling, and sometimes that's when the better stuff comes out, to be honest with you, is at the end of the video. So all my videos are like this, every single one of them. I'll do my little presentation and then I go off on a little rant. So stay tuned to the end. That's another thing, congregation. This channel's not monetized, so the watch time hours are really, really, really important. Just, there's no slides. So you can just push play and set the phone down, put your headphones on, and just go about your thing and listen, right? Or you just turn the volume down and listen, right? I don't care. But the watch time hours really hit those algorithms. So if you watch the videos all the way through, you'll help me spread this word, because nobody is talking about the Anti-Masonic movement. Nobody, especially in the Mormon community. In the Mormon community, it's zero radio silence. Nobody's talking about the Anti-Masonic movement and how it pertains to Mormonism. When they do talk about it, they talk about this dumb fucking William Morgan story. If you're reading a book about William Morgan, you're reading the wrong book. William Morgan is an allegory. He legit has nothing to do with the fucking movement itself. Okay? Start getting into the political side of the movement. And that's where you're going to find your answers, is on the politics side. This William Morgan story is a bullshit ruse. It's a complete fucking ruse. It's a total bullshit story. to confuse the masses. How do I say that with confidence? These fucking books tell you. They just told you. In this episode alone, I've told you 3 fucking times with Southwick's own words. Okay? So the political aspects of the anti-Masonic movement is where you want to do your research at. That's it right there. The political aspects of the anti-Masonic movement is where you want to do your research. Okay? And you're going to find names. Follow those names. Okay? You're going to find those very same names in Mormon history. Now, apostate congregation, here's something that happened really interesting to me yesterday. I was looking up Joseph Smith's children. Now, I want you to all do this right now. In your mind, who are the kids of Joseph Smith? Who are the children of Joseph Smith? Okay, there's unborn children, there's an adopted child, there's children of his own. The unborn children, we don't know their names of, they were never named. All this kind of stuff, right? So now I want you, and this is history. This is the history that I grew up with, and anybody over the age of, until probably this, they found this fucking channel, because I go over this, that this shit's not fucking real. So literally Mormon history is changing right in front of our very eyes. I Googled that shit yesterday, and they're all different. The main ones are there, yes, but now the unborns with no names, they now have names. They now have names, and there's a couple that are added. Murdoch's kids, the twins, okay? Eliphat Murdoch, we tell you, Eliphat Murdoch is in this book. He's in William Morgan's book. We're going to get into the letter at the end in the appendix of Eliphat Murdoch. They all become Mormons, congregation. Those kids, Murdoch's kids, are fucking Eliphat Murdoch's kids. Or I'm sorry, Eliphat's father's kids, right? They were the children of, yeah, it's fucking amazing, man. When you connect these dots, man, because all of these names you can Google and they all have Mormon prominence. And the Mormon church is legitimately changing these. Oh, that was another one. I looked up the father of Joseph Smith Sr. I said, who was the father of Joseph Smith Sr.? Guess what they fucking said? Okay, all of you probably know. What is Joseph Smith Sr.'s father's name? Samuel Smith Jr. His father is named Aziel. Or I'm sorry, Joseph Smith Jr.'s father's name is Aziel. Aziel's father's name is Samuel Smith. Guess what it fucking says now? As of last night. Joseph Smith Sr., his father's name is Joseph Smith. As of last night. I Googled that shit last night, and that's what it said. Joseph Smith, and it gave a date, a birth and a death date. Well, I've done videos on Aziel and Samuel Smith as the father and grandfather. Well, the grandfather and the great-grandfather to Joseph Smith. I've legit done videos on these people. And those names are no longer there. I don't know if it was just a glitch. I don't know. Maybe if you look it up on whatever you're looking up, it still says Aziel and Samuel Smith Jr. But when I looked it up last night, it legit said Joseph Smith, and that's where it stopped. It actually said David Smith, the brother. It kept giving me David Smith. It wouldn't give me Samuel Smith. It kept giving me David Smith. David Smith. Okay, now I really am truly rambling. Okay, so anyways, apostate congregation, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And in the words of the late, great Solomon Southwick, in this particular book, he says, the ghost of Morgan will rise again. And here we are, apostate congregation. The ashes of Morgan have risen. We are the legion of many. We are the adversary to this bullshit Epstein files stuff, world domination that's happening right now. And nobody's going to fucking do anything about it except for us. What that looks like, I have no idea, but it needs to happen. Start out with boycotting, public shaming, these sorts of things. You know, getting your rotten fucking head of lettuce and chucking it at him at the fucking, the Golden Globes, start throwing your rotten tomatoes and your spoiled cabbage and shit. Let's get fucking medieval on these bitches, Come on, let's get medieval on these bitches. Are we just gonna sit and let fucking child eaters tell us fucking what to do, and we got to pay insurance, and we got to fucking register our car and fix our tires and pay fucking driver's license and ID cards and fuck all that bullshit. Nobody can afford to fucking eat anymore. Our gas is like, fuck all that bullshit, man. It's time to get medieval on these bitches. Thank you, apostate congregation, and I will see you on the other side.